I am the phantasmic Paul Jessup, and welcome again to my YouTube channel, where I discuss all things dark, fantasy, and horror in the realm of publishing. I am a horror and dark fantasy writer with 25 years experience publishing in the genre, and usually in the small press, but in some of the few professional venues as well. So, Paul, you must be saying, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Everyone keeps asking me about my writing device because I post about it online a lot. And this is it. This is my hella customized goth as all hell Freewrite Alpha. So if you don't know what a Freewrite Alpha is, it is basically the small, it's not a keyboard. A lot of people think this is just a keyboard, but no, this is a word processing device, or as they like to call it, a digital typewriter. And basically you type here, the words appear on the screen right there, and you type. The nice thing about this screen is that it's very easy to read in basically bright sunlight, that sort of thing. If you're going to write in the dark, you kind of need like a little lamp to go with it, which is fine. I mean, who doesn't like to write with a little candle flickering, especially if it's made from the fat of a hanged man? Everyone writes with a hand of glory by their side, don't they? I do anyway. But that beside the point. When you're done writing on this little device, because it's all stored on here, it's like a little mini computer, you press the send button. On mine, I replaced the keycap, so it's the win button, and it sends it via email to your computer. You can also just hook it up using a USB cable and drag and drop it like it was like a thumb drive or that sort of thing. So it can be very handy. One of the nicest things about it is because it's so small, so compact, you can't like browse websites on it at all. And I don't know about anyone else, but like ever since probably I'd say about 2012 or so, when I go on my computer to write or edit, I usually already have like a window open of like Firefox, and it's already got my social media tabs up, and I end up spending like hours on those and then forgetting, oh wait, what was I originally supposed to do? Oh yeah, that's right, I sat down to write, and by then, the rhythm, the whole the juice for writing is gone, and you kind of need that dark juice, the terrible rhythm to keep the writing going, at least for me. Once I get worked up into that state, I can just sit down, and it goes, and it's pretty freaking awesome. And so this device is actually extremely good for that. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Paul, this does not look like the Freewrite on their website. What did you do, and how can I do it? So basically, since the Freewrite Alpha, actually the whole reason why I got the Freewrite Alpha is because it has a mechanical keyboard. And I am a mechanical keyboard nerd. I've basically built my own custom keyboards several different times. And the keycaps you see on this custom design on the Freewrite Alpha is the Akko Dracula's Castle keycaps. I bought them a long time ago, actually, when they were still in stock. I'd say probably about 2022 or 2023. And that's when I first started writing my vampire novel, Cancer Eats the Heart. It's going to be out October 7th from Underland, and it's amazing. It's actually about a small town where the disabled, chronically ill, and dying decide to turn to vampirism as a cure. And it works, but it's got a price. And that's where the horror lies, of course. So I bought these keycaps because I'm like, I want to write a vampire book. I want these keycaps. They were $60. I'm like, I don't care. I want to get them. It wasn't until later where I realized, oh, Dracula's Castle, they're Castlevania keycaps, and who doesn't love Castlevania? That is a kick-ass game. But I got them mostly because, Dracula, Castle, that's awesome. And so, you can see it here. Now, they're out of stock now. They have been for years. So I'm glad I got them when I did. And they're worth every penny because, typing on these is amazing. The texture of the keycaps, I like to joke and say they felt like teeth, but they feel more like ceramic. It's a wonderful feel. And they got lots of really cool little things like I said, there's the candle there. I love that little candle, and the red candle over here on this side too. The little ghosty, the crosses, which are very vampire, the coffin, and all that stuff. And then the regular, these keycaps, I love they're real beautiful, the colors of them. So then what I did was when I got this, I just was like, you know what, I'm going to put these keycaps on this Freewrite Alpha and make it my horror dark fantasy writing device. And so I took a keycap puller, which most keycaps when you buy them come with a keycap puller, and I got this one here. And let me show you how easy it is. It's actually really easy. If you have a mechanical keyboard, you know how this works. You just pop them off, boom, there you go. And then when you have your new keycap that you want to put on, you just pop it right back on. It's a piece of cake. It's nice. And so that makes this extremely easy to customize and get to look how you want it to look. If you notice though, up in the corner here, there's this weird looking keycap. It looks like it has little skulls inside of it and like a crow and a crown resting on the skulls. That was not part of the Dracula Castle keycaps. That was one I got from Amazon for about $22, and it looked so badass, I had to get it on there. These stickers, also from Amazon, I paid like $8, I think, for like, I think it was like 200, 300 stickers, something like that. I just picked out the coolest looking ones, stuck them on there, and they're really nice. Now, anyone who owns a Freewrite Alpha will be like, this is interesting. Paul, how did you get the shift keys to fit? And the enter key and the other ones, because it is notorious that the Freewrite Alpha has, and other Freewrite devices with mechanical keyboards, have non-standard key shapes. For these ones, the shift keys, it's this what they call the stabilizers underneath them. They don't line up. There's slight, I think it's like a 0.03 millimeter difference. It's so slight you don't even notice with your eye, but like it won't fit. So what I had to do was shave down the stabilizers on these and create new stabilizers for them. It was a lot of work, but it looks cool and it's worth it, I think. Because usually what people do is they just replace like the alphanumeric keys and that's it. But I wanted to have the whole thing have this vibe, you know, especially like with this, hello, and like this backspace key here being the red coffin. I thought that was a lot of fun. Little spooky pumpkin over on this side, woohoo, and all that stuff. The only one I couldn't replace was this space bar, because the space bar is also non-standard and it's kind of funky shaped. Not just the stabilizers, the whole thing. So I had to keep this, but it doesn't stick out too much. And anyone that knows a Freewrite Alpha knows that, wait a minute, your space bar is quiet. Paul, how did you make the space bar sound as quiet as the rest of the keys? I put foam underneath it. You pop the keycap off, you take the foam that actually came with your Freewrite Alpha that was like, do that, you trim it to the right size, you stick it underneath, you put the keycap back on, and nice and quiet. So there you go. Now, how do I actually use this to write? Well, the nice thing is, since it's so small and portable, what I do is I just keep it near the couch or by my bed, and first thing in the morning, I get up, have my cup of coffee, and I just start writing. I put on some music because I need music. Usually I create a Spotify playlist before I write a novel. And usually on the website, well, actually, no, every single time on the website, I put the playlist with the book. So you can actually listen to the music that I listen to while writing the book while you read it. I think in some ways, it kind of changes the relationship of the text to what you hear in your head and what you see in your head and that kind of thing. But, you know, that's how, I mean, I'm a very musical writer. I need music as inspiration because, like, if I get the right soundtrack, usually I can just sit down and just start writing. And I try and get, like, the mood or the theme. And I want the music to kind of match the mood or the theme. So, like, once I get that music going, I can usually just sit down and go, all right, and off I go. And then I'm writing. And it's wonderful. The way it works on this too is it's because of the screen size here, it's not very good for editing. So I actually have to bring it to my computer and edit, but I have a computer that's specifically set up to edit without the internet and things like that. We'll get to that in a completely different video at some other point. And I've got a mechanical keyboard for that too and stuff like that, but it's not all gothed out and awesome looking like this because this is my baby. This is what I write on. And so usually what I do is instead of writing an entire novel in one file, I create different files for each chapter, and it makes it easier to write a chapter or 2 or 3 in the morning, send it via email to my computer, and then later in the day I upload them and then edit them. And that's usually what I do. So I edit each day and I write each day. I know that's not with the free write philosophy. You're not supposed to edit your work until you're done with the entire thing. But I don't believe in that. Honestly, I don't think editing is a distraction. I don't. I think editing is like one of the crucial parts of being a writer, and learning how to edit is huge, and it's key. And these people who think that editing is just a distraction from you getting words on the page, they're just seeing they're seeing the trees for the forest, so to speak, instead of the forest for the trees. They're seeing the minutia rather than the big picture. Which I guess for some people, if you just want to finish a novel and you've never finished a novel before, that's great. You want to get the words done first, because what do they say? You can't edit what you don't write. But honestly, for me, I've been doing this for 25 years now. Oh, over 25 years. Holy crap. So in the 90s, the late 90s is when I first had my first small press works, poetry, and a novel published, like 1998, 99, and 2000, and that was through Six Gallery Press. Ages ago. Those are all out of stock now. They've been put out of print. That publishing house, I think it might still exist, but it has changed owners, things like that, and changed everything else. So, but I've been doing this for a while. I've got my own rhythm down. I know, like, I can finish books. I've finished so many books. It's ridiculous. So, like, for me, I can edit, right? Like, I edit in the afternoon. I write in the morning, I edit in the afternoon, and then the next day I do the same thing. And that's just my rhythm, how I keep it going. And for me, rhythm, like I said before, it's important to my writing. My writing is very musical. I can hear it in my head. And when I'm editing, one of the key things I do is I look for the music and to hear if it sounds off. Like, if what I'm reading sounds even like the music sounds off, I edit it until like the flow works in my mind. Because to me, like, when a reader is reading something, there's a rhythm that can pick them up and carry them along through the story, and that's done through the prose. The prose can have a very musical, very rhythmic feel to it, and it's like an undertow, and it just kind of drags you in and keeps you going. And with good rhythm, you can like alternate different scenes. You can go from like a placid, calm scene to something that's like harsh and action-packed. And then you can do it with the rhythm of your sentences, the rhythm of your paragraphs, and the rhythm of the page itself. Like, once you get into that flow, for me, it rolls. It just rolls on through, and it brings the reader in. And so, like, when I edit, that's like what I mainly look for. I fix typos and stuff because this thing does not have a spell check. Oh, no, it does not. That's something I wish it did have, but I do have a dictionary nearby. But sometimes I'm just in the zone. I like just keep going, and I'll look back, and there's like typos here and there. I've gotten good to the point of where actually I've gotten so used to this device because I've had it for about a year now, a little over a year and a half. I've gotten so used to it that I have very few typos now. But when I first got it, I had a lot of typos because I was used to autocorrect and all that crap, which I'm actually kind of thankful that it's not there anymore. So yeah, so this is my highly customized Freewrite Alpha, and it's really cool. And it's something that I spent like a lot of time working on. But once I got it there, I mean, some writers I know would probably say like, oh, this is just a waste of time, just write. It's a waste of time, just write. But like I said, I've been doing this for a while. It's not a waste of time to me. And I think it's kind of cool to be able to like design and create my own keyboard, because this is my writing tool, It's like my guitar, I guess you could say, my axe. Or if you want to do a nerdier little comparison, this is my lightsaber, and I'm a Jedi building my own lightsaber, that kind of thing. But I just think it just helps me. It helps me get into that headspace, where I write, because I write with darkness. Even when I write fantasy, sometimes even when I write whimsical, lighter fantasy, there's still a darkness to it, because that's what appeals to me. That's what I go for. It may be a little more gothic and a little less that, but that's just how it rolls. Like, even when I do the stuff that I got published in Fantasy Magazine, Clark's World, a few other places. I think the stuff that got published in Postscripts magazine was some of the darker stuff. The same with my collection, Glass Coffin Girls. But like the stuff that got published in Fantasy Magazine and Clarkesworld were some of my lighter stuff, but it still had a darker tint to it. So even though it's whimsical and light, it was very whimsical goth. You know what I mean? It still was in praise of the shadows and of the darkness, because let's just be honest with ourselves. It's fun, you know. Horror is fun. It is. Dark fantasy is fun. There's something just enjoyable about embracing that darker side of things and having it envelop around you. It's a blast, you know. And yeah, I do, like, I'm into reading stuff like, you know, John Clute's Darkening Garden, and more serious takes on like Mark Fisher's The Weird and the Eerie, more like philosophical takes where they go into like the catharsis of horror and looking at horror from an intellectual perspective and seeing like why it works and why people are attracted to it from, like, you know, existentialism and that sort of thing. And my little philosophical brain just loves that stuff and eats it up. But if I'm going to be 100% honest with myself, it's fun. It lights up some part of my brain that makes me go, oh, it's just a blast, you know. And I think like we lose something if we focus too much on like the philosophical end of things. I mean, yes, there's a seriousness to the darkness, and there's what's the word I'm looking for? It can get disturbing, and it can get under the skin, and it can get in a way to make us feel not joy, not happiness, where it's just kind of like a morose, heavy dread and sadness. But in the same time, even when you have all that, it just lights up some part of my brain that makes me feel just happy in a way, you know, happy and joyous, but in a way only that another horror fan, another dark fantasy fan can understand. They would get it, you know what I mean? They understand that sort of thing. I mean, you watching this video now probably know what I'm talking about. You probably understand it as well. All right. Now, I think that's about it. So this is, like I said, it's a Freewrite Alpha that I replaced the keycaps with, placed some stickers on and stuff. I did heavy modifications on the keycaps so that the ones that wouldn't normally fit would fit. I also did some modifications with what's called the foam mod on the spacebar here, which if you're actually in the mechanical keyboard community, you'll know exactly what I mean by that. So a lot of people I know, when they have their Freewrite Alpha, they do what's called an O-ring mod. But I didn't have any lying around, so I figured this would be the best way to do it. So, all right. Now, so the next video I'm going to probably do, I'm probably going to talk about my electric typewriter, which if you've watched my YouTube shorts, or actually might have led you here, that YouTube short where I played around on my electric typewriter. For a while before I bought the Freewrite Alpha, I was trying to find a way to get out of the internet controlling my life and controlling my writing. And one of the things I turned to was an electric typewriter. And I actually wrote a novel on that. A few years ago, it was published by Vernacular Press. It was called The Silence That Binds. And it's a wonderful cosmic horror novel that's currently sadly out of print right now. But I'm hoping to change that again someday, because honestly, it's one that's near and dear to my heart. If you've ever read any of the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, it's very similar to that stuff. I was very inspired by that kind of thing. So if you know what I'm talking about there, you'd probably be like, oh, cool. As well as Delaney's Nova and some other stuff. So it's a bit sci-fi, dark fantasy, cosmic horror, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to do what you normally hear these people do, you know, when we're here on the YouTube. But, you know, I hate saying this because I feel so corny. So I'm going to have Macbeth, that's my pet skull here. Hello, how are you? He's going to be the one to tell you to like and subscribe and hit the little bell so you get notifications. If you don't, I will come into your dreams and eat your brain. Better listen to Macbeth. He's a very hungry boy. And, you know, that's all I've got to say for today, other than if you don't want to like and subscribe, oh no, sadness. But buy my books. That means even more to me than liking and subscribing. Like I said, I got Cancer Eats a Heart. That's coming out October 7th. Right now, Suicide Music just came out. Fantastic book. Yes, I have 2 books out this year. I'm a Machine. No, I'm not Stephen King. but it's awesome. I had 2 books out last year too. That was Daughter of the Roman Star, which is my Antichrist novel. That was a lot of fun to write. I've always wanted to write an Antichrist novel. So with that one, I decided, hey, what if Damien was a woman in her 20s and had her own following cult, and they're being hunted by serial killers on the Christian right. And so it's like a reverse of the usual Omen, Rosemary's Baby kind of thing. So that's a lot of fun. You should pick that one up. The other one I had last year was Skinless Man Counts to 5. You want to find out why he's counting? Buy the book. All right. And with that said, so long, farewell, and stay creepy.